Hey, Skarrow. This is Lars.
Hey Lars, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. And you guys killed it today. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
It was the entire payoff of the ARG and the lead up to everything. Insane. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. It's been nuts.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, I watched some of your stuff. Obviously, I've been busy as well, but I tried to catch it as much as I could, and it was so fun. And thank you again. Like your bits in the creator piece were awesome.
Thank you.
So good. Like, yeah, it's really neat.
I really appreciate that. It's I've had so much fun, and it's been great, and I'm excited for people to finally see this game. So.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess do you want to start by just kind of saying what you do on Marathon real quick, so chat can maybe formulate some questions, and then we can just chat a little bit?
100%.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm a senior design lead on the run team, and the run team consists of 3 parts. It's maps, which creates the zones. It's the activities team, which creates basically the stuff that you do. So, if you're going after a cache location, if you're going after an incursion, we do all the ambient UESC layer setup as well. And so we work hand in hand with the maps team. And then there's a third part to the team, which is the contracts team. And they're sort of the out of game / in game, lore delivery methods / missions and upgrades. So there's a lot to the contracts team, but they do a lot of the, like, hey, they set up what your role is in this world, and send you on missions. You're a mercenary, obviously, so you don't have an allegiance to any one faction, and all the factions have their own reasons for doing things, and so we've been having a lot of fun with that. So that's the team that I'm on, and then I personally helped drive the weather systems, and so that's something that is I've touched personally myself, like done the scripting and everything on that. So that's something that's special to me.
Okay.
In particular.
I don't think the chat has seen much of it, but I got to play when under the full lightning storm, and holy, does that add so much just cool vibes. It's really sick.
Yeah. Thank you.
So one thing I'm curious about is, I put out a video kind of about all the looting and stuff, so people might have an idea about this. And I talk about kind of the mini events on the map, the drop ship and like the flying drone and the poison rooms and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I have played a little bit of the other maps, but for the sake of this, we're going to pretend I haven't. How much do you expect, or how much can we expect that to change from map to map? Like, how much character does each individual map have from like a public event, for a lack of a better term, perspective?
That's a really good question. I think we are feeling that out still. And so the maps that you have not played yet, that we're going to have, I think this has already been said, this, we're going to have 3 at launch, and then an additional one will show up at some point in the first season. And so there's 4 zones that we're working on, and the team right now is hard at work on the 2 zones that you have not played, or I think you played one of them at one point a while back, like one time earlier on when you were here. And so, we are trying to give them different personalities, and that will lean into the different activity types as well. So we do want to have special things happening on each of the zones if possible. We do want to have some shared language though as well, because it's, once you learn the transport drone, right, the fun little robot that's flying through the air that you shoot out of the air that you saw in some of the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Once you learn that, it's cool to like see it and understand it and hear it, and when you see one fly across the sky, you sort of know what to do already. So there's some fun ways that we mix and match, and so the shared language is really good for us, we think, for players as well, but also adding some unique variety is important too.
Awesome. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I got to see a little bit of that, but I think it's one of those things that I feel like you guys are playing some of these cards really close to your chest, which I get. I think I have been, my verbiage has always been, I think people are going to freak out when they start to realize some of this stuff is like evolving in the game, but It's very cool. How much, or can we expect like any changes over time to the different maps?
I think that that's something we have plans for what, so I think people are aware, but if they're not, we do plan to have a seasonal model, which means each season, everything that's in your vault and your character state, we will wipe.
Thank you,
right?
Snazzy.
And everyone
Thank you.
starts again over from the beginning once that seasonal break
Mons, can you
happens.
pin
And so
something that says we're
one of the things
interviewing
we're
Lars?
starting to work on now is like what happens at those seasonal breaks, how much additional content comes in. I don't think we're prepared to commit to like what that is, but you can expect eventually additional runners, eventually additional weapons, additional consumables, implants, cores, and then of course we will be doing additional zones as well. Again, we don't know what cadence that'll be on yet. We're sort of still figuring those things out. But you can imagine some of the stuff we've talked about is, hey, it's probably going to be fun and interesting to mix up the types of things that happen in the zones. And so that can be from the lowest level of, hey, we redid how loose loot, and loose loot is a concept of it's a thing that's sitting in the world, right, that spawned there. And so like you'll see a smoke grenade or a chem grenade or credits or whatever sitting on a table or on the ground. Like, what if we remix all of that? Because of course, over the course of multiple weeks, players will learn and understand where all the loot containers can be, because we do a lot of fun randomization. I say fun because I think it's more interesting for players if I'll break it down really distinctly right now. When we go through and set up loot in a space, like say a room in bioresearch, and bioresearch is one of the regions that players will see in Dire Marsh. Dire Marsh was the zone that everyone was seeing today. So in a single room, we might have 30 or 40 possible locations for loot. And then we at runtime, when the session starts, we'll say, okay, let's populate 5 in this room. And so you never quite know exactly where they're going to be. So every time you go on a run, you're getting a tiny bit of randomization, which feels really good. And then we'll see, is that something you want to change between seasons? I don't know. I guess I'd ask you or your chat, like, is that interesting or is that not interesting to change between seasons?
I think from my perspective, and I can gauge chat while they contemplate this, but from my perspective, the more things change over time, I think the better. Cool. I will always be even if it's little things like, oh, this chest can't really spot, or that chest used to be over there. It just feels different and helps add things over time. So I'm always in favor of that. Chat agrees, at least cool. Right off the bat. It seems like, I think it's important to keep some of the language. Like I talk about how like field maintenance, you can go there for like weapons and some of the POIs are better for finding specific things. I think like having that game knowledge cooked in is really important. But evolving maybe some of the more nuanced things, I think helps keep it fresh over time. So
that's good to hear, and I agree with you, and I think that's why we're looking at sort of any aspect. We're looking at all of it to say what do we think is gonna feel good to change, and so that's really good to hear. I think our brains are in the right spaces. So
I'm going to ask one question. I know it's not your thing, but chat would kill me if I didn't mention it. People know now that Prox Chat isn't currently in this current build of the game. And the overwhelming majority of people would very much like that to be added in some way. So I know that's not your team and I know that's not you.
It's you know what? I'm a lead on the game, and so I can. What the nice thing about having these conversations is, even if I'm not the person making the decision, I do talk to Steve Cotton, who's my lead on the run team. I do talk to Joe Ziegler. I talk to Andrew Witz. We're talking every day, and so this is a kind of thing where it's good to hear. Like we know there are going to be things like Prox Chat. I'm sure there's another thing that we can't necessarily anticipate that'll come out of the alpha that people will just unanimously say, hey, we really want this in the game. And I think that's exciting, right? Like I can't know everything. I can't predict everything. And hearing this stuff is really is great, honestly, because it keeps us honest. And it also makes us think about, yeah, how can we're launching the game this year, but boy, it is not going to stop changing. You know, it's going to keep evolving over time. And that is by having people like yourself and everyone in chat, and everyone playing the game and giving us feedback. Like we're just at the beginning here for that.
Yeah. And that's great to hear. And I've tried to convey this, like every time I've play tested the game, I've been part of a lot of feedback, and the next time that I've been involved with something, I have seen a lot of that feedback like directly addressed in a really meaningful way. And I love the approach you all are taking with this. And I really appreciate it. I think, chat hasn't really seen that. So I think they will start to see that sort of thing from the alpha to, whatever comes after. But it's something I really appreciate. And I just want you guys to know that, like, it's been really fun to be a part of. And thank you for, like, listening so, diligently on stuff like that. So,
yeah, man. I mean, it's like, it's our job. It's funny, but just saying it out loud, it's true. We are creating, first and foremost, something that we believe in. Like, I love this game. I'm not like pretending when I say that. I play this game as much as I possibly can. When we got alpha stood up, I'm like playtesting it on Steam, Xbox, PS5 at home. And it is so fun. It's like sometimes I have to be like, okay, I have to go to bed right now, because if I go on another run, I know I'm in for at least, maybe half an hour, who knows, of build crafting, but also just you never know what's going to happen when you go on the run.
Yeah, for sure. I've been in those scenarios. I'm aware. I'm personally, this is the first skarrow question, chat. Calm down. Okay. I'm so interested in how the team approaches making a new map. Like, do you start with saying like, hey, we have a marsh map. We maybe want something with a little bit more, less wet, aesthetic language. Do you approach it from we want this to be like a close quarters map, or like or are there lore driving reasons behind it? Like, what are the steps for approaching that as a team?
It's a handful of things. I think at first we usually, Marsh has been in development for the longest of all the maps that you've seen. And Marsh is the one that you saw the footage of, that you're gonna, that you're sharing today with all the folks that are following you. And when Marsh started, we didn't fully understand what the game was yet. And I know this sounds crazy to say out loud, but I'll say it. Like, part of the journey of making a game from scratch is that we bring in people like yourself and other people that are, not even content creators. We bring in a lot of people to play test and look at the game and get feedback on, and we start to understand what the game is. So the game takes this journey as you're making it, and at times this might sound like woo-woo to say, but the game talks to you and you have to listen to it. The game will tell you what it needs. And so after we'd been working on Marsh for a while, we realized we needed different experiences. Marsh is, kind of wide open. It's relatively big for us in terms of the scope of like, when we think about map sizes. We knew we wanted to have a variety of experiences, a variety of, player sizes, right? So we say things simple like small, medium, and large. Like, Marsh is our large map, so like, what's our medium-sized map look like? And that is the other map that you played when you were here, Perimeter, last week. And then, we've got another map that's even smaller, and so and is like stacked, right? So think about Marsh as more flat and open and swampy. And one of the maps I don't think you've played on yet, but it'll be there at launch, is much more like verticality, a lot of interiors, and it's very different. And so like we approach it from multiple ways, and then when we start to figure out, yes, this is the right gameplay type we want, then we start to layer things on, like, okay, what's the fantasy of this? Like, what are you doing here and why are you there? And that helps us to make the map, but then also bring it to life, like the visuals around it. Like,
Did we? Oh, I think we lost.
What are the things?
Okay, there we go.
Got it?
Yeah, I think I'm losing you guys a little bit, but I think it's better now.
Oh, shoot. Okay. What part did you miss?
I just the last part, but I think you cut back in, and I think we got it. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, it boils down to we want to have variety there, and in a game like this too, we think the escalation of difficulty is important as well. So maybe a map like Marsh is a little harder, but then we'll have things that are even harder on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can confirm a lot of that from what I've seen. I've not played that third map.
Yeah.
But it is the maps I have played are very different and offer very different experiences in a pretty cool way. So, this ties in a little bit, I think, with a lot of the map stuff. I want to try to keep it, on topic somewhat. But sure. Ill Physics in chat asks, since this is not a PvE game, how will lore be incorporated into the core gameplay loop to help us stay immersed in story beats? And I think the maps have a big part in that too.
Yeah, no, I think, the maps do for sure. And then I think there's this other third aspect to the run team that I'm on that does the contracts and factions. And so I spoke about this a little bit on the reveal. However, and you've experienced this, so the way the game sort of kicks off is that an AI named Oni introduces themselves to you and is sort of your guide at first, your guide to being a runner and understanding what your place in this world is and why you're doing the things you're doing. And as you make progress with Oni, which is the SciAc representative, CyberAcme, then these other factions or corporations they reach out to you. They say, oh, this is a runner that can be trusted to do the job. We should reach out and try to not curry favor, but give them jobs. And so a lot of the lore, because and I think you were sort of hinting at this, or maybe in the question was, how do you deliver this story content? How do you deliver this lore in a world that's very tense? And the answer is very carefully, but we have all these out of run experiences as well, where you're interfacing with the AI representatives, where you're choosing your contracts, where you're doing your meta progression upgrades. So sort of your seasonal, hey, I want my loot speed to be faster. Hey, I want the ability to jump higher and run faster and have more heat capacity, which is our version of stamina. And so you're having these, I say conversations, but the AI is reaching out to you and delivering bits of lore. And, we plan to do even more of that. I think there's going to be 6 factions total in the final game, and people will be able to see that in the alpha as well, because the ones that aren't in there, we're offering 3 in the alpha, and then people will see that there are other ones exist, but they will be, locked out. That's sort of our approach to the alpha, is not to have everything in there in the same way that we don't have the runners. We don't have all the contracts. We don't have all the zones. This is a narrow view that we still feel is a lot of good content, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
Does that answer the lore question?
Yeah, I think it does. Well, yes, I think it does. The AIs for all of the all the factions are insane. The Traxxas one is insane.
I know.
It's so good. I wish I didn't get any footage of it, and I really wish I did, because it's so good. I got a lot of the other 2 though. Very cool. The whole system's very cool, and lore is obviously, from going back to the original marathons, such an important part of this universe. And I think you guys are doing a really good job carrying that over, especially, with how lore heavy the ARGs have been, and that short film that we got today, and that sort of stuff. It feels to me like you all are respecting and growing the marathon lore in a really impactful way, and I'm excited for people to start experiencing that a little more. So
yeah, that was the hope. When you hear Julia, who is our narrative lead, talk about it, it's about respecting what marathon is and was, and then continuing on that legacy, because marathon, the original trilogy had very deep lore and really cool stories, and like just it got, it got crazy. It was cool sci-fi. It had some, like, lifelong fans that were made because of the lore, right? Because of the terminals, and we knew that was important to pay off. And so our approach right now is the contracts and the factions, and then expect little bits. And you even said it yourself, there are some secrets that obviously you are aware of, but there's a lot of things you aren't aware of because we're still working on them. But some of that stuff will be faction related as well, and as the story grows.
Yeah, this next question plays into it, so I wanna time in, I think, a little bit. And this was one of my I would say criticisms is a lot, some of the PvE elements. There's not a ton of enemy diversity right now, and so this question kind of played into that a little bit. Are there plans to evolve the variety in AI enemies over time with different seasons, new factions like the Four, or giving USEC soldiers different weapons, jetpacks, thrusters? Oh, they do have thrusters, by the way, chat. Some of them do. But
Yes.
what are the plans to kind of evolve those over time to help diversify that part of the game a little bit?
Yeah, what would you want to see? I guess that's the reality. We're going to deliver the UESC at launch. We also have there's the ticks that are like inhabiting the world and are sort of like, can be a nuisance in sort of a fun way, but a dangerous way. What additional things? I know you are more in tune with what we have.
Yeah, I have to be careful there.
I'll list it out super quick. Yeah. We've got the recruits, which are sort of the low level blue dudes that will sort of crouch and or rush you and try to melee you, but they also hit pretty hard. And then you've got the grenadier, which will lob these immobilized grenades at you from a distance. You've got a sniper. You've got the LMG shield character that will rush you down and sort of like mimic some of the Locust stuff that Lupo was showing on gameplay.
Yeah, those guys, they suck. I mean, in a good way. They're
hard.
mean, dude. They will bash you. And the physics chat, like they won't launch you as far as like a phalanx in Destiny, but they'll send you a good 10 feet for sure.
Yeah, and they will down you, right? And then we saw that in some of your footage that was in that the bit that we put together. And then there's mini boss variants of them as well, which are like, they almost look, they've got the increased sort of armor capabilities in different colors, and to the point where some of them are even have the ability to call in reinforcements if you don't take them out. And so there's some aspects there that are pretty cool. And and there's I don't want to go too deep into like what's in the future. That's why I asked the question, like what things would you want to see?
Yeah, it seems pretty unanimous. I mean, everyone loves themselves the compilers, of course, iconic. Yeah. And then it seems like aliens, more kind of fauna, flora, maybe not flora, but fauna and more alien type stuff. I think the ticks are really cool personally. I want to see a giant mother tick. I think that would be sick.
That would be great. Yeah, we do talk about Tick Queen has come up a few times internally. There's nothing like that right now. However, having you say that out loud is like, okay, cool. Yeah, like let's keep that dream alive.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's going to help this game stand apart from a lot of other games too, is like the USEC they're cool and they're brutal and I like fighting them, and from a lore perspective it's really fun. But Marathon has so much alien stuff to pull from too, right? And I think there's plenty of room to even introduce new, like more original stuff too. So that's what I'm personally most excited about, and it seems like chat's echoing that as well. So
cool, very good. That's good to know.
This is a really interesting question. For the maps, chat wants to know, do you queue them yourself? Is it a random queue? Do you put us into them based off of contracts? And kind of like, do you want us to spend more time on certain maps than others? And like, what are your thoughts around that?
So you do queue yourself, and there will be, we're still playing around with how this works, but, and you played this when you were here. There's a short introductory experience on one of the maps, Perimeter, and then we sort of let you loose. And the idea when the game launches is that there will be, there'll be the 3 there, and then the one that'll be coming in later in season 1. But because of the difficulty progression of the maps themselves, it's limited at first because we don't want to overwhelm the player, and because the third one that will open up, we're playing around with things like, hey, when I get to runner notoriety level 10, maybe I have access to the third map, because we know you've put in enough time, you understand the systems, you really get what you're getting into, and now we're gonna layer on another level of challenge. That doesn't mean you couldn't go into it if, like, say someone on your stream, Skarrow, jumped in with you and you're already level 20 and have access to everything. You could bring them along with you into that, map that they might have locked on their personal account, but we don't want to hold those things back for too long. But yeah, chat, you do choose the zone yourself, and there are contracts that are specific to zones, so that's why that part is important. It might ask you to go to these specific locations and download data in Dire Marsh, and so that's why it's important for you to be able to choose those things yourself.
Okay, well, we only have a few more minutes here, chat, so I'm going to pick the questions that I like the most. Will there be an endgame map similar to Labs in Tarkov? And feel free to rapid fire these if you want to.
Will there be a map like Tarkov?
But like Labs in Tarkov, like a super endgame one.
I'm not sure I can answer that question.
There you go. That we'll count it. Is there any plans for like a social hub or like a testing space or anything like that you can just hang out with your friends?
No, nothing like that. Is that something you'd want to see?
I would personally, I've given this feedback every time. I would love a firing range to test attachments and guns and stuff. I think that'd be awesome.
And you'd want to go into that firing range with your crew too, right? I just want to understand what you're saying.
Oh, Chad is 100% yes. Oh my gosh. That is
excellent.
They feel almost as strongly about that as they do proc shot. That's crazy. Yes, they want that 100%. So
okay, good to know.
Will there be a pink cat plushie?
Oh, I'll have to ask. I don't know. Our merch team is like pretty amazing for the most part. So it would not surprise me if they're thinking of that. I don't know. I'll ask. Okay.
The artifact system that was featured heavily in the first reveal for the game, where that seems to have gone. What's kind of the plans or what's changed with that?
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, and just for chat to know, like, game development is a windy road, and so the thing you think is the thing, sometimes you get further down the road and realize it's not quite working the way you want it to. I will say that exact feature we've sort of beaten up and retooled, and there will be versions of it that will come into play, maybe even in the beta. We'll see.
All right, cool. Chat, and this is another thing, I think this is related to the firing range, but everyone really wants to see, or a lot of people really want to see, like a hideout equivalent where you can kind of like display things and that sort of thing.
Yeah, like in Tarkov, right? Yeah. I think no matter what, our plan is to definitely allow the player to commemorate a season. I can't tell you what form that's going to take yet, but I know it's important to the team. And so even if something like that isn't there at launch, it's something we're really passionate about as well. So we want to have something like that, even if it's not a space you walk around in, which it could be. I just don't know. I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. It's that the feature is being worked on and thought about, so I don't have exact answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to see that as well. I'm excited to see. I know, obviously alpha, pre-alpha state, like there's still a lot to go, and I'm excited to see how a lot of this feedback is implemented. We go until 3:30, right?
No, say Skarrow, it's Malik. So we're doing 25 minutes just so we can give the devs a little 5-minute break in between.
That is totally fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Lars, for your time. We really appreciate it, and congratulations once again. This was really
Thank
cool.
you. I can't wait to. Hopefully, I can see you all in the alpha.
Yes. Oh, I'll be there. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Camille, and Malik. Thank you for helping set everything up. Appreciate you.